homeowners know installing a stone walkway can be a beautiful addition to your property, but if you don't do it correctly, it can be a tripping hazard and just look awful within a year. So BroLaws Dave and Joey are here to share tips on how to install it correctly so that doesn't happen to you. Hey guys.
Hey, another thing that 2020 has brought us is a lot of DIY projects, which ultimately means 2021 is going to be a very busy year for us fixing a lot of these, but that comes with the territory. So when it comes to walkways, one of the big mistakes that DIYers make is they don't do a proper base for that stone. And without a proper base, that's where you're going to see the weather affecting the stone with the freeze-thaw climate. It's going to heave stones and it ends up looking very ugly.
Yeah, so we're going to show you a couple different ways of accomplishing a proper walkway. One is first digging out the area that you're going to put the stone in to about 10 to 12 inches depth. So depending on the thickness of the stone, you're going to want to go a little bit deeper. Then you're going to lay in a nice landscape cloth to prevent any weeds from growing up. And then you're going to want to fill that with about 8 inches of this A gravel. So this is a thicker granule gravel, and you're going to want to compact that down. So you're not going to want to just fill 8 inches in and start tamping it down. You're going to want to do it in some layers so that you know you've got a good base. So about 4 inches, give it a good tamp, another 4 inches, give it another good tamp.
Okay, it sounds like the tamping is super crucial. So can you rent a tamper? Are they inexpensive to buy? What should you do about that?
This really depends on your project. So if you're DIY or just doing your own landscape walkway, we don't suggest buying a gas-powered tamper. It's just too expensive. You can rent them depending on the size of your project. If it is a big one, we do suggest getting that gas tamper. If not, there's a hand tamper. So this is relatively inexpensive. It's something that we use on our projects when we're doing a small little landing or a walkway. You use this to just tamp down those first layers of A gravel.
Yeah, and once you've got that 8 inches base compact, nice and strong, then you're going to take a finer gravel. So this is a limestone, or you could use sand, and that's going to help create your flat surface. So you're going to spread that out about 1 to 2 inches across your area to give yourself a nice flat space to work with.
Okay, now what about rain and water from the sprinkler? So do you make it completely flat? Do you want it to have a little slight angle?
You definitely want to add slope to a hardscape patio. You don't want pooling of water, because that pooling water can sit there, and especially as it gets into winter, if that water seeps down and freezes, that's going to cause havoc. So making sure you have about 1/4 inch every foot of slope to shed the water off the patio.
Now, if we lost your attention at digging 8 to 10 inches into your ground and all the manual labor that goes along with that, there's a great product that we've been using on a lot of projects called Gator Base. And this is a product that basically eliminates the use of the 8 inches of gravel. You no longer need that. You just need about 3/4 of the finer gravel to create your flat surface, and then you lay this on top.
So you can see that in the illustration here. This is representing the dirt, your landscape fabric, your 3/4 inch of your finer gravel, and that's the Gator Base and your stone on top.
See, I just clued back in again. That makes it so much easier. I like that. That saves a lot of work right there. Any other types of stone that you might use for a walkway, guys?
Yeah, there's lots of different types of stone that you can use. So if you're just doing a stepping stone, you could use something that's more irregular shaped, like a flagstone, and that can just kind of go as steps go along. Or you can use some different bigger pavers, smaller pavers. Really, there's an endless amount of options.
So really, with these thousands of options you have to go through, if you are struggling with it, get a landscape contractor in. They can help navigate you through which products you're going to want to use. As if you are doing it as a DIY project, this Gator Base is so important. It creates a level spot that you can build off of, as well as it's actually a thermal break between your stone and the ground. So when you're getting into that winter time, it's creating a thermal break, which is going to help from frost heaving.
Yeah, and a nice little tip, if you take some 3/4 inch pipes when you're laying down this gravel, so when you're wanting to create that nice flat surface, if you take some pipes, you lay them down and use a level to put on top to create the slope that you want. Then once you have those positioned, you can just rake it along, and that's going to give you a nice flat surface. You can take those out, fill in those spots in between, and once you have that flat surface, then you can click the Gator Base on top of it. So if you're a DIYer, once you get this Gator Base on top of that surface, it's locked right in.
Is there anything in particular that you're most concerned about for 2021 when it comes to DIYs gone wrong?
Oof. There's so many of them.
There is, and especially there's been a lot of a lumber shortage this year as well. So the lumber that's been coming out to people, I don't know what it's going to look like in another year or two because they've been pumping it through the mills so fast. So outside, we're a little worried about that. And inside, I mean, people have been recreating rooms. They've been taking rooms and turning them into home offices. They've been putting spaces in basements. I just pray that they had a licensed electrician come in to do that work.
Yes.
And doing your research. We want to make sure DIYers are watching programs, look on YouTube, make sure if you're going to do it yourself, you do it the proper way, especially with the things that are in behind the wall, your insulation, your vapor barrier when you're doing a basement, all of these little nitty-gritty things that people don't think about. Do your research to make sure you're doing it properly.
That was actually just a shameless plug to follow us on Instagram, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. I was going to say watch Cityline and follow those two. They know what they're doing. Thanks, guys.